Welcome back to our channel, The Historical Records. In 2019, the world was at a crossroads. The effects of climate change were becoming increasingly undeniable, with devastating wildfires, hurricanes, and droughts wreaking havoc across the globe. The scientific community had long sounded the alarm, warning of the catastrophic consequences of inaction. But it was the emergence of a young Swedish girl, Greta Thunberg, that would ignite a global movement and galvanize millions of young people to demand action on climate change. Greta Thunberg, born in 2003, had always been deeply concerned about the environment. Her passion for climate activism was ignited at a young age, and she soon became acutely aware of the existential threat posed by climate change. Her journey as a climate activist began when, at the age of 15, she decided to take matters into her own hands and make a statement that would reverberate around the world. The catalyst for Greta's activism was a simple yet powerful act. She began skipping school every Friday to sit outside the Swedish parliament in Stockholm, holding a hand-painted sign that read, "Skolstrejk för klimatet," or "School Strike for Climate." She made it clear that she would not return to school until her government took meaningful action to combat climate change. Greta's solo protest, which began on August 20, 2018, was a radical departure from the conventional methods of climate activism. Instead of relying on the usual channels of advocacy and negotiation, she chose to disrupt the status quo by directly confronting those in power. Her determination and uncompromising stance struck a chord with many, and her Fridays for Future movement was born. Word of Greta's solitary strike quickly spread through social media and news outlets. The image of a lone teenager with a sign became a symbol of youth activism and the urgent need for climate action. Her message resonated not only with young people but with people of all ages who had grown frustrated with the slow progress on climate change. As the weeks passed, more and more students joined Greta in her school strike. Her protest became a gathering point for activists from all walks of life, and a groundswell of support began to build. Greta's Fridays for Future strikes soon spread beyond Sweden's borders, with students in other countries taking up the cause. The movement gained momentum across Europe and eventually reached the shores of North America. Asia, Africa, and beyond, the global climate strike movement was not just a protest, it was a call to action. Young people were demanding that their voices be heard, that world leaders take immediate and decisive steps to combat climate change. They were no longer content with vague promises and distant targets, they wanted concrete actions that would secure a sustainable future for themselves and generations to come. Greta Thunberg's impact extended far beyond her strikes. She was invited to speak at international forums, including the United Nations Climate Action Summit in September 2019. Her speech at the UN was a defining moment, where she delivered a searing rebuke to world leaders for their inaction and their betrayal of young people's trust. Her words, delivered with a raw, emotional intensity, left a lasting impression. "How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words. And yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?" Greta's speech went viral, and her passionate plea for action reverberated around the world. She had a gift for distilling complex scientific issues into simple, compelling messages that resonated with people of all ages. Her ability to speak truth to power, unencumbered by political considerations, made her a unique and potent force in the fight against climate change. But Greta was not alone in her activism. She was supported by a network of passionate young activists who shared her commitment to the cause. Together, they organized global climate strikes that mobilized millions of people in cities across the planet. These strikes were not just symbolic gestures, they were a display of the collective will of a generation determined to secure a livable future. The global climate strikes took many forms. In some cities, students walked out of school en masse, flooding the streets with their demands for climate action. In others, activists staged die-ins, lying motionless on the ground to symbolize the devastating consequences of climate change. Some protests were festive and creative, with colorful banners, music, and art conveying the urgency of the issue. These strikes were not limited to major urban centers, they took place in towns and villages, on every continent. They united people from diverse backgrounds and cultures, demonstrating that the climate crisis was a global issue that transcended borders. It was a testament to the power of grassroots activism and the ability of young people to effect change. One of the defining features of the climate strike movement was its inclusivity. It was not limited to students or young people, people of all ages and backgrounds joined in. Parents, teachers, scientists, and activists from various organizations lent their support to the cause. This intergenerational solidarity sent a powerful message to world leaders: climate action was a priority for everyone, and the responsibility to act fell on all shoulders. As the movement grew, it attracted attention from celebrities, politicians, and prominent figures from various fields. They lent their voices and resources to amplify the message of the climate strikers. High-profile endorsements helped bring even more visibility to the cause, but it was always clear that the heart of the movement was the millions of individuals who took to the streets week after week. Greta Thunberg and the Fridays for Future movement were not content with just raising awareness. They had concrete demands. They called for governments to declare a climate emergency, to stop subsidizing the fossil fuel industry, and to transition to 100% renewable energy. They demanded that politicians listen to the science and commit to keeping global warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius, as outlined in the Paris Agreement. In addition to their demands for government action, the climate strikers also emphasized the importance of individual and community-level changes. They encouraged people to reduce their carbon footprints by consuming less, adopting sustainable practices, and supporting eco-friendly policies. They believed that true change required a collective effort at all levels of society. The impact of the climate strike movement went beyond policy changes. It inspired a shift in public consciousness. It brought the climate crisis to the forefront of public discourse and forced politicians and leaders to prioritize the issue. It challenged the prevailing narrative that economic growth and environmental protection were incompatible and pushed for a new paradigm of sustainability and justice. The movement also fostered a sense of empowerment among young people. It showed them that they could be catalysts for change, that their voices mattered, and that they could hold those in power accountable. It was a lesson in the power of collective action and the importance of persistence in the face of daunting challenges. Over time, the climate strike movement evolved and diversified. It expanded to address other environmental and social justice issues, recognizing the interconnectedness of various crises. Activists began to emphasize the need for a just transition, one that not only mitigated climate change but also addressed economic inequality and social injustice. As the movement continued to gain momentum, governments started to respond. Some countries declared climate emergencies and adopted more ambitious climate targets. Renewable energy investments increased, and discussions around the Green New Deal gained traction in various parts of the world. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe and stay with us.